Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have a layout that I made using the July My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit. I'm starting out by doing some stamping. I'm using a butterfly stamp that we received in last month's kit, the June kit, and I am stamping it using some Distress Oxides. I used two different shades of four different colors, yellow, pink, green, and blue. I started off with some spun sugar and Victorian velvet. Those are the first pink butterflies that I stamped. Next, I stamped some yellow butterflies using fossilized amber and scattered straw. Then I made some blue butterflies using stormy sky and tumbled glass. And then finally I made some green butterflies, and for that I used bundled sage and peeled paint. And all of those colors that I just mentioned will be listed in the description box. So now I'm cutting all of those butterflies that I stamped apart, and I'm going to fussy cut all of them out. I'm going to leave a little bit of a white border around each butterfly so that it will stand out from the background. I'm going to be using one of the absolutely beautiful papers from this month's kit. They are these gorgeous 49 and market papers that are so colorful and so beautiful, and I chose the colors of Distress Oxide to go with the colors that are in the pattern paper that I'm going to use. I'll show you that in a moment. The only color that I thought was a little off, didn't match absolutely exactly, was the blue color. I used a light blue color that I thought was a little brighter than the one that's on the page. You'll see that in a moment, but I was still happy with the results. Of course, you can use any inks that you have. I was just using the inks that I had available. So now I have all my butterflies ready, and now I'm going to layer these three cut files on top of each other. This cut file, Everyday Adventures, is one of the beautiful cut files that is available to my Creative Scrapbook subscribers. I wanted it to be a little bit thicker, that's why I cut it out 3 times. I'm going to stack the 3 layers on top of each other. I'm using some gel glue, and I'm just carefully coating the top of each of the cut files, and then I'm going to place them on top of each other. When I place them on top of each other, I spend a little bit of time lining them up. Sometimes I think I have everything lined up, and then once it dries, I realize that I wasn't careful enough. So I do take a little bit of time to make sure that everything is just the way that I want it, right on top of each other. Once I have 2 of the cut files attached, of course, I put some more glue down, and then I'm going to attach the 3rd layer. I really love these large title cut files. I'm not great with coming up with my own titles, so I really like when the title is taken care of first thing when I'm creating a layout. I was thinking I could stitch on the cut file, but I decided that it was a little bit too thin for that. So I decided instead of stitching on the word adventures, I was going to add just a little bit of texture paste. And I need to use a really, really tiny stencil for this. So I used a stencil that was in my stash. This is a Tim Holtz stencil called Dot Fade. Because the word adventures is so delicate, I wanted the openings in the stencils to be small and create a delicate pattern on the word. So I'm using some Liquitex modeling paste and a palette knife. I have a metal palette knife I got from Tuesday Morning quite a few years ago. And I'm just adding a little bit of the modeling paste through the stencil. Earlier, I put some washi tape on the top of the letters D and T. I just didn't want the modeling paste to get on the word every day. So that's the easiest way. And then after I'm done with putting the texture on there, I can just easily peel those pieces of washi tape up off of the rest of the cut file. I lifted up the cut file from that piece of paper that I have underneath it just to make sure that it didn't get stuck. And now I'm using the palette knife and I'm cleaning up some of the excess modeling paste. And then in addition to cleaning the modeling paste up from the paper I'm working on, I also used the edge of the palette knife and I just scraped any extra modeling paste that was along the sides of the letters off. I didn't want those edges to look rough, and it's so much easier to get that modeling paste off when it's wet than to try to scrape it off when it's dry. And it's not super noticeable, but I think it adds a nice bit of texture to those letters. Once everything is dry, I go back and remove that washi tape from the word everyday. Luckily, nothing got on the other word, so everything is ready to go. So this is my background paper. This is a beautiful, beautiful background paper from the 49 and Market Spectrum Sherbet collection. Though there were a few letters that needed to have separate pieces, the R, the D, and the A. And when I had layered the 3 cut files together earlier to make the title, I also layered up these little pieces that I'm going to glue right down to the layout so that all the letters would, of course, look complete. Now I'm using some gel glue, and I'm adding gel glue very carefully to the back of this cut file. I want to make sure that there's glue all over all the areas. I don't want any of the parts to pop up later on, so I am making sure I get sufficient glue on there. And then I'm going to attach this down to the paper, and I'm not going to be backing the cut file. That's very rare for me. I almost always back the cut file, but I thought since there were these beautiful colors that were on the background, it didn't really need anything else. So I thought I would try something a little bit different. So now the cut file is in place, and I used my T-square to make sure that it was straight on the page, and then I glue those little inside pieces of some of the letters right down onto the pattern paper. I just love the branding strips on these collections. I loved this one. I thought it went really well with the layout, so I thought I would include it at the top or the bottom of the layout. I finally decided on the bottom because I'm going to be placing the butterflies at the top, and I didn't want there to be any crowding at the top. Now I'm placing the butterflies down on the layout, and you can see that I'm continuing those lines of color up through the butterflies. I'm not trying to be too perfect about putting the lighter butterflies on the left and the slightly darker ones on the right. I kind of mix the colors together a little bit, or at least there's some overlap between the 2 colors. I wanted to keep them in line, but I also didn't want to be too rigid about the placement of the butterflies. I wanted them to look a little natural. So I spent quite a bit of time arranging the butterflies, and then I wanted to attach some of them down directly to the page, and then others I wanted to pop up on some foam. So for this layout, I'm just putting a little piece of foam behind the whole butterfly. I'm not trying to pop up the wings especially. I am just popping up the whole butterfly, and then some of the butterflies don't have any foam on them at all. And I'm thinking that will give the butterflies some variety if some are flat and some have some dimension. I'm adding that foam to the back, and then I'm applying some ATG adhesive to the foam, and then I'm attaching them down to the layout. I have most of the butterflies at the top of the layout as if they're kind of flying away, and then I added a couple more butterflies, one to the left of the cut file, and then I am going to add 2 more. I put a yellow one and a green one near the photos, and that's going to be in a little while. As I had mentioned earlier, the light blue color that I used to make the butterflies, that is called tumbled glass. That is not the most perfect match for the kind of dusty blue that's underneath it, but I think that it matched well enough that it doesn't stand out. It doesn't stand out to my eye anyway, but I'm sure there are other ink colors that can be purchased that would match a little bit better. Now I'm going to attach down my photos. I have 2 3x3-inch photos that I've already mounted on some heavyweight white cardstock. I have the photo that's on the layout now attached right down to the layout, and then I used a little bit of fun foam to pop up the second photo. And then I spent an incredibly long time adding photo corners to the layout. I don't include all the footage because I kept changing what I was doing, but in the end, what I decided to do was add a photo corner that coordinates with the color that is above it on the layout. So I started off with a pink photo corner, And then the photo corner that's on the lower right-hand side of the first photo, you can't really see that too much, but I made that a pink photo corner as well. Then I used a yellow and a green photo corner on the second photo. And you can see here that I used some pink and then yellow and then green Distress Oxide to put a little bit more color on those photo corners. And then once I finally had the right color photo corner where I wanted it, I used some ATG adhesive and then I attached all of the photo corners down to the photos. And then I liked the way the layout was coming, but I just thought that I needed to add a little something more to it. So I was thinking that putting some jewels on the layout might be a good addition. I'm using some super inexpensive jewels that I have collected through the years. I varied the colors a little bit when I had them. I don't have tons and tons of different colors of jewels. So when I had two different colors of the same jewel, you know, two different shades, like I had some light pink and some slightly darker pink, I mixed those together. I felt that overall all of the pink looked good together and it was all mixed together with the butterflies. So I just kind of went with what I thought looked good and just tried to not complicate the color scheme by adding any jewels that were going to be too different in color from the color that was already on the layout. At first, I was just going to have the jewels at the top with the butterflies and then in the middle area where the cut file is. But then I was thinking that it might look nice to have a few cascading down the page. So I add a couple of each color at the bottom of the layout. For yellow, I had very little room at the bottom because of the photo being there. So I just added two little jewels underneath the photo, and that was it for the yellow. Now I've added the pink and the yellow and the green, and now I'm working on some of the blue jewels, and one of them wasn't sticking, so I use a little bit of glossy accents and attach that blue jewel down at the top of the layout. I also used some really tiny pearls in different colors. I think that the jewels would have looked fine, but I just wanted to switch things up a little bit for the photos. I don't know that it made a huge difference, but I did want to put pearls there instead of jewels. I wanted to add a little something to the butterflies. There are so many of them, so I thought that adding a little detail to them would be a good idea. I don't want to add any more color to the layout. I have enough pattern paper and inks and jewels and pearls on the background that are different colors. So I decided to go with these strips of off-white 3mm self-adhesive pearls. So I have those stuck down to the centers of all the butterflies on the page. And now I'm using some Bow Bunny glitter paste in the color Sugar, which is just a clear glitter paste. And I like the way this adds some glitter to whatever you put it on the layout. So I really wanted the butterflies to be important on this layout. So I just used a paintbrush and the glitter paste, and I went around the layout until I had all of the butterflies coated with this glitter paste. And if you want them super glittery, you can go back and add another layer of the glitter paste. I think one is enough, and I love the way it dries really fast. I was thinking that one more green butterfly to the right of the photo would be a good addition. It just seemed to make the layout look more balanced to me. So I didn't have any more green butterflies, so I stamped it, I fussy cut it out, I added some glitter paste, and then I also added some of the small pearls to the center of it. That is the very last touch on this layout. This layout came together pretty quickly. The part that took the longest was stamping and fussy cutting out the butterflies, but other than that, it was a pretty quick layout. Here are some close-ups. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I always appreciate every single view. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. In the description box, you'll find the link to the My Creative Scrapbook website where you could view this kit, the limited edition kit, and all of the kits that are available this month. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.